Hello everyone, come one, come all, come in general, and there's going to be a bit of a random video even by my standards, because this is not going to be an analysis or review of a film, play or videos game that I enjoy, but instead I attended the Moco Museum today at time of recording and possibly yesterday at time of video release. So without further ado, time for me to channel my inner TB Skyen and see if I can make little fanciful analytical shorts about these various art pieces that I came across. I will try to credit as many as I can remember, but I do not remember all of them exactly, and I didn't take pictures of every single artist's name because I wanted to save space on my phone. The first one we got here that I'm looking at is this tall, like, purple reflective balloon penis. Or is it a penis? Because, like, it looks like a giant metallic balloon of sorts, and it clearly looks like, the long part is clearly the shaft, and the ballish areas are meant to be the bollocks. However, alternative interpretation is also meant to be, like, equally applicable to, like, a caricature of a skinny lady with big bazongas. So it's like, interesting. And also, the balloon is reflective, so I imagine the philosophy or symbolisms of that particular art piece is like, it's like a playful, semi-immature moment, reflecting how, you, in terms of analysis, you put into it what you get out of it, and sometimes you might see yourself, and sometimes you might see other thing, whether it's meant to be a male phallus or a typically female caricature, I suppose. Moving on to the next one. So, the next one is a sort of eco-brutalist coded, like, pristine white car, but it's chiseled into diamonds or crystals of some sort. So it's very interesting because usually when I think of this type of aesthetic, I don't usually think of it as like pristine and cleanly as it looks. So that's an interesting choice, because I use the term eco-brutalist there because I know big words, but also because I'm a fan of The Last of Us, and a lot of the aesthetic of that game series is eco-brutalism, specifically like large urban cityscapes being taken over by plants of old age, like vines and bushes crawling all over buildings and the like. So it's interesting that rather than going with like a fungal or green type vibe, it's instead more rocky, and also portraying the eco-friendly element, for lack of a better word, as somehow coming from the inside. Like, okay, I'm getting metaphor for inner environmental or natural essence coming from within the insides of the machine, and it's not necessarily human, but it is in some way like pretty and naturalistic in some ways. Or alternatively, it could be, it's like a machine that's being damaged by nature from the outside, like maybe someone just chucked crystals at this thing and that somehow broke through the metal, and it's like a different spin on nature reclaiming the past strides of mankind, who knows. On a purely aesthetic note, I quite like the way it looks. I also quite like the inside of the car, and again, all of the damage seems to be from the same thing. So there's seemingly, there is world building at play. I'm just not sure what to do with it outside of the main eco-brutalist reading that I am personally applying onto it, and even then I might not be using eco-brutalist in its correct parlance, so apologies there. Next up, we have another a painting by the same person who did the purple balloon thingo, which is two like blow up doll monkeys with a blue moustache looking icon drawn across that painting. And one thing I found interesting about it is that the blow up doll monkey people were very HD rendered, for lack of a better term, and the background seemed a lot more watercolory, blurry type beat. So I would also say that in terms of the way that the two monkey blow-ups are positioned, it seems to be possibly another immature joke about how it looks like they might be doing it from the back. And I wouldn't normally say this, but I'm saying this now because this art piece is literally positioned right next to the blow-up penis balloon piece. So therefore it's like, well, maybe there's a theme here about sex, maybe, of some sort. And if so, then maybe it's like a commentary on how, like, maybe, like, you don't recognize commonly sexual things when you're of a younger age, I suppose. Hence the moustache, and, okay, not hence the moustache, hence the positioning of the blow-up monkey things in the water park. It seems to be a water park. Next up, we have an actual blow-up. This is another, they said it was gravity-defying. Jeff Koons. Jeff Koons is the person who is making the ancient symbol of... I'm reading a little bit off the brochure, but ancient symbol of male and female sexuality. So it's like, okay, like, this is interesting. Like, okay, it's not just me, or it's not entirely me, just, like, completely bringing up interpretations out of thin air. Dolphin Taz trash can. And that was pretty interesting for me personally. Like, it has little handle thingos on it, so, like, you're clearly meant to, like, hop on top and go for a ride on that thing. But jokes aside, I mean, half of it is regular, and it's also going through it's going through, like, an inflatable blow-up donut as well, with some sort of, like, children's patterning along it. So it's like, well, it's going inside of something. The trash can is also at the back, so maybe it's a metaphor for how marine biology and aquatic life is being taken from behind by modern waste practices and trash being thrown into the oceans and pollution and the like. So it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, pollution is basically, although, okay, why do I say it's like it's being taken from behind? Because, like, okay, you know, I will say why I think this, like, it's being taken from behind. Because the dolphin is inside the hole, and that's like, oh, okay, well, the instant, you know, my initial reading from that is like, okay, basically a more artsy-fartsy equivalent of OK sign emoji and finger pointing inside the OK sign emoji, that sort of thing. I'm not trying to have a go at you, Mr. Koons. I am not trying to have a go at you or take the mick. Like, I find it funny in some ways, but, like, you know, no hate to any of the artists that I mentioned throughout this video even. I am just a very easily amused person. So, moving onward, smokers. So, yeah, not a huge amount to say other than, I mean, it's very pop art, it's very peculiar, it's very like, it's a commentary about the portrayal of smoking, no? Like how if you really want to sell something, then it's like sex sales, and if you want the sex to sell, then you have to put product next to sell, and so you have lashes full lips of the rouge lips on the cigarette, so it's like, comme ça. So, with all of that said, okay, I mean, aesthetically, I think it looks pretty, but also foreboding in a way, because, you know, smoke, gas. I think it's one of those satire paradox problems where, the same reasons it can be seen as pro, the same it can be seen as anti for smoking. Mainly portraying it in a certain way to highlight how, oh, it's alluring, but also, okay, fine, fair enough. That's all I'm getting from the beginning. But what if I am very much open to alternative interpretations, like ladies, gentlemen, individuals of all pronouns. If I go through any art piece in this video that you feel like, oh well, actually this hit me in a very peculiar way that was more interesting than what you're making it out to be, then comment down below, let me know. I'm interested to start a dialogue of some sort. Moving on. Also, Smokers was by Tom Wesselman, so fair enough. Next up we have a butterfly piece. I wasn't able to get a full photo of the butterfly piece, but it was essentially a massive collage of butterfly wings assembled in a circular pattern. It was very pretty. Ethically speaking, I have questions, but if the butterflies died of old age, then fair play, power to them. And yeah, it was certainly pretty. But also, even though it was pretty butterflies, it could also be a commentary on how, oh well, yeah, of course you'd think pretty butterflies, but if it was like human bones arranged in a pretty pattern, then it could be seen as very macabre in a way. So it's like, okay, I don't personally know if this art piece was made by a vegan or environmental activist, but if so, I mean, if that was the reading that's the artist hypothetically wanted to be taken away, then I think they could have done more on that front to articulate that. But if not, and they just wanted it to be like, oh, it's whatever, man, just be in your feelings and know what the art and see and try to listen to your heart about what the art is speaking to you, man. Like, okay, that's cool too. And hey, either way, I don't know why I'm complaining so much. It looks good. Why am I being such... In the words of CJ the X, why am I being such a bitch about this? Anyway, by Keith Haring, I believe, The Burning Skull. And there was actually a couple of, there's a couple of, I suppose, Afro-themed art pieces there. Not much, but some. And I don't know if I took any pictures of one of the main controversial ones, but that is certainly something. In terms of this Burning Skull one, it's interesting. Looks like it would make a pretty solid tattoo or badge. In terms of what it's saying, fire safety sure is important. Maybe it's, it could be... okay, so the people in the skull are also falling out of the fire or trying to escape the fire, seemingly, and go into the mouth of the skull. It seems to be some sort of, like, pipe or... yeah, like a pipe with, like, broken bars into the inside with, like, a little portal looking like Samurai Jack in there. So it's like, okay. So maybe it's a commentary on how, well, it's sort of like how when people escape the fires of their life, they will even go to such lengths as to attempt to dive into the abyss of the unknown to get away from it all. And in terms of the X's and the eyes, it's giving Sniper Scope a little bit. So maybe it is also a commentary on maybe like rounding people up, or assassination, or massive like collective acts in terms of like multiple people putting all of their efforts into a small whole. And I don't know, could be lots of things. Could be all of them, could be none of them. But again, at the very least, in terms of my, unga bunga brained initial thoughts, that's a pretty cool looking thing. Moving on. I like this one. This is again another patterny one, but it feels a lot more, I suppose, politically charged. You have a regular guy with like 3D goggles, I'm assuming, dressed up like Mickey Mouse, and you have two like long-nosed Mickey Mouses at either end of each other with like arms like reaching up towards the regular ass looking Mickey Mouse man. And on the background to that, there's also multiple people praising these Mickey Mouse individuals by the looks of it. Like below the big Mickey Mouses with the long trunks, not to be confused with the regular Mickey Mouses. And I don't know what this is trying to get at, other than possibly something along the lines of corporations bad, in which case, okay, fair enough. I mean, I know I sound like I'm underplaying it, but I did feel more emotionally affected when I was there, like watching these art pieces in person. It's just that, for some reason, looking back on some of them, it's like, I mean, okay then, I feel like that's the main basic gist of it. And I know for a fact, or I'm at least very, very certain, that there's more under the surface than what I'm actually, than what I'm actually seeing here. But, I guess I'm just drawing a bit of a blank. Anyway, what we're looking at is like a mirror, possibly a two-way mirror of some kind, which allows you to, yes, in fact it's a mirror on both sides even, as far as if I remember, and it's a wall of like metal bars, and on top of each metal bar is a bunch of medication tablets evenly spaced between each other. So it's like, okay, interesting, like it's a mirror combined with drugs, like medicinal drugs to be clear, not necessarily the illegal variety. So I guess it could be a commentary on how, hey, sometimes when people look at themselves, they see their problems, and along with seeing their problems, they also see their medication as a part of themselves. So that's the main thing that I took away from that. This one is political poetical. Okay, this isn't the name of that piece, but it is certainly nearby. I believe I did take a picture of the author for this one. So it's a black gentleman with a broom, and also next to this gentleman there's also some sort of either map or shopping list. I'll have to zoom into my second picture to check on that. And apparently this piece was based on like the pose or a story of some sort of like mythological figure or shaman or the like. So it's like, okay, that's interesting now that I know that that's what it's meant to be. I guess also without knowing that context, I could say, oh well, he looks kind of strong and purposeful, but also normal and mundane at the same time. So it's like, oh well, maybe there's like an intersection between looking sort of larger than life like an action hero and also just being a regular guy. Like, yeah, who's to say? You have 32, the disposal of the Bonanza, 33, refreshments and ethics, 34, tough yarns, Young Billy, and Pepsi Cola, antelope, caribou, deer, elk, gazelle, like it's like a sort of hunting list. So it's like, again, playing with that, with that interplay between being like a person on their hero's journey and a regular dude living your own life. Like, you have stuff like Pepsi and mundane stuff next to like stuff that a hunter would get, like elk and the like. So, who's to say? This piece was called To Repel Ghosts. Part of why I took a picture of the description especially is because it mentioned the Yoruba religion, and I also happen to have some Yoruba heritage, so take that how you will. I even have like a little Yoruba children's book like teaching you the basics of the language, so it's like, fancy that. This one is Richard Prince. The reason I felt a particular kinship with this art piece is because I have been stood up on a blind date with a blind person in my lifetime. So, yeah, very funny interpolation of, seeing art elsewhere from my life. So, moving on. I like this gold fluffing, like, discount Mickey Mouse looking thing. Like, it's pretty, it's peculiar, it's electric, it's energetic, it's like, yeah, nice, not bad, like, yeah, like, he really looks like the mascot of an evil corporation, and the face in the close-up specifically, that's giving, what's his name, the bear from, Teddy. It's giving Teddy from Persona 4. I haven't even played that game, but I am curious. Super flat, Takeshi Murakawa. Oh yes, this was like a long canvas. Like, I couldn't get all of it in one shot even if I tried. But yeah, I did remark on this to my friend who I was also at this establishment with, that it's very Junji Ito by way of Hello Kitty, which, hello, look at that happening right now. Anyway, next up we have what appears to be a Bendy and the Ink Machine situation. Like, okay, it's imposing, it's intimidating, it's a little silly, but also interesting. Fair enough. Next we have a couple of Banksies. This one is, a group of soldiers frolicking about in the fields. Like, I wonder what that could be a commentary on. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, okay, again, I'm trying not to sound like a dickbag right now, because I enjoy this stuff. I don't know why I sound like I don't enjoy this stuff. But yeah, okay. Apt. I agree with the politics of this picture. Yes, so, yeah. And I haven't even said what I think the politics of this picture are, but yeah, clearly IDF soldiers frolicking about, having a gay old time, while, and that being at odds with the fact that they're having a nice time, but being soldiers, their job is to kill people. So, yeah, take that how you will. The little girl with the red balloon, it's nice, it's cute and a little sad, but also nice. The reason why I was going... I was really filling up the double chin on this selfie, my goodness. Like, part of that was because I was really struggling to crouch, because my friend is like a head and a half shorter than me. I will also clarify, I'm only blanking out her face for privacy reasons, not because I was having an opportunity to nonce. Moving on. The closest I am to love is you. No thoughts, interesting, a little bit of a world-building moment, I suppose, like, ooh, what's this story about? Like, who does love who? It came close to love, who is not, what the hell? With you, I want to love. Again, same with the last one, does what it says on the tin. Bad artists imitate, the great artists steal. Bang. And it's Banksy and it's scrambled over Pablo Picasso. Also, so if it really was from Pablo Picasso, then, you know, just forget the fact that I misattributed that quote to Quentin Tarantino in my Kill Bill video. So take that how you will. 3 famous Banksies. A couple kids with the red balloon above a pile of bodies of some sort. The bomb-throwing guy with the bouquet of flowers. And the elephants on parade with big missiles. This art piece I think was called like Little Friend or something like that. And yeah, not much to say. It's cute, it's soft, it's cuddly. Well, I say it's cuddly. I imagine it would be cuddly if someone made a plush of it. Don't worry, I did not touch the merchandise. I like this piece a lot because I didn't even fully get to take it in because there were so many like random strange things on it that I was like, okay, well now I do have to like go over every point of it, like just with you guys right now. Like, we have a hand, we have a Furby, we have what looks like Slappy from Night of the Living Dummy, we have Jesus probably, we have a mermaid or Aphrodite probably, more so Aphrodite because she ain't got no arms, so good luck trying to get a HJ from that one. Oh, we have a girl with the pearl earring. I actually have that picture up where I live, so fancy that. Dude next to her, I don't know, but he looks a bit like Nandor. The relentless. Because he is relentless. What else is there? How many Easter eggs can we get at? This thing at the top looks a bit like a Monster Munch dude. What else? Jaws? Is that mouth meant to be Jaws? It could be. I will choose to interpret it that way as such. We have a spider over there. We have possibly hieroglyphics in this general area. I don't know. We have another famous Greek statue I don't know the name of. We have a squid. We have... What else is there? What else is there? Some sort of temple or entrance or cave or something. And I guess in terms of my general thoughts on that, interesting and impressive a little bit. I don't quite get what it's trying to say. Maybe it's something about like, oh, like when we're overwhelmed by so many things all at once, then our first thought is to go to the member berries. And Medusa! I just saw Medusa in this one. So yeah, fancy that. So it's like, oh, how many correlations can you identify in this thing? And like, what does that say about you or society? Is that a goddamn minion? That might be a goddamn minion. Fancy that. Also, is that Snoopy? And is that Kermit? Oh my god, is that Snoopy? Is that Kermit? That's really cute. That's really nice. I like... Oh, the Vitruvian Man. That's another famous one. I know that one. The X over here looks a little bit like Red X's symbol from the Teen Titans. Oh, okay, now I'm looking back. Okay, so one of these things is clearly Elmo of some sort. For some reason, there's a can of some sort that just says MILF. I mean, I'm not opposed to the concept, but still. Moving on. There's me, Jojo posing in the Time magazine mirror. Democracy under attack. Ha 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 ha. Society, am I right? Okay, next up we have some art pieces by Robbie Williams. So this will be peculiar. Sorry about being extremely charismatic. I've tried to not to be, but there's nothing I can do about it. Interesting. A little bit self-masturbatory in my opinion, but interesting. If you don't love me, then neither do I. Again, interesting, like, curious, okay, fair enough. Roses are red, violets are blue, everyone's a dickhead except you. That's cute, I like that. Smile, I'm about to love you forever. Again, sounds nice, like all of these would make very nice postcards, or like general event cards, where like, you know, where like one of these pictures or messages comes already imprinted in the middle section of the card, and it's like, oh, that's cute, that's nice. Although I will say, smile, I'm about to love you forever, next to if you don't love me, then neither do I. Like, that's an interesting contrast by putting these two art pieces together, because it's like, oh, if she doesn't love you, and you're about to love her forever, and it's like, oh, it's like you're forcing her to love you forever, and it's like, oh, it's like she had no choice, because you don't want to not love yourself, so therefore you will force her to love the other person, she'll love you, just a theory, an art theory. How to remain really, really socially uncomfortable, a guide to self-fuckery. It's cute, it's nice, looks like it sure is a book cover, and it's peculiar, it's interesting, it's very, very hashtag quirked up white boy, not me calling the kettle black, but whatever it's called. Background music for disappointing sex, a little bit of a story time from that one. I do not personally remember having gotten the chance to choose a playlist, but I do have a playlist for it, so I'm looking forward to busting that one out eventually. Not using this as an opportunity to brag about my personal conquests, of which not a huge amount exist, but as my friends would say, I am a slut in theory. In practice, scholars remain divided. So, I suppose that's as best a note to leave that on as any. The demons will not die, fight them bravely. Yeah, that's a good moral. I didn't lose my mind, it was mine to give away. That's cute. Yeah, that's nice. I'm not even being sarcastic, just, yeah, that's nice. That's a nice, yeah, you're in charge of your mind, and who you want to give it to is your business. Next up, we got a lunar sakura garden of some sort. It looked very lovely. It looks very lovely. It's very Kill Bill coded, dare I say. I like this. Lunar Garden, that's what it was called. An optical illusion type one where it's like, oh, it's a bunch of glass and reflections and mirrors and stuff, and it's like just looking right down into the abyss, and then you peer upwards and over, and it's like all constantly shifting and wifting and lifting. So yeah, that's cool. Species, that was like a CGI short film of nature, wherein everything is square-shaped naturally, like you have square trees and square bark and square oceans, and the birds fly in a square, and square trees have square leaves. The square trees have square leaves, that's why I had to leave the every hole that asked for please. I am here for doom. This is the pink room. That's a very... it may not look it from the picture that I've taken, but it looked like essentially a couch made out of pink paper flips. Paper bits, I suppose. And, yeah. It seems fine. I'm sure it's relatively comfy for one person to sit on and no one else, unless they decided to stack on top like Pringles. This was the throw rug lady that I was talking about, though. Miranda Makarov. Again, I didn't manage to get pictures of all of her rugs because they were big and my phone is not big, and also I didn't want to get too many pictures of other people in the background. But but again, my very jerky tone aside, I quite like the rug. It looked very pretty and nice, and it's like, oh, it's like animals and flowers and random colourful shapes, and look at the pretty colours, and it's like, it's weird but cute and easy on the eyes for the most part, I'd say. So moving on, we have Extinction Annihilation, sweeping the nation, I'm sure, where we have like 4 very menacing toddlers. And the plot twist is that when you go up to the front of them, then you get a surprise. It's a little surprise. They're animal people. They're fluffing animal people. That's scary. That's scary. That's messed up. It's scary. I mean, it is interesting. I don't know what it's trying to say. Maybe it's trying to say, oh, extinction annihilation. One day, the humans will fuck a sheep, and then our babies will look like fucking sheep, and with the faces of a sheep and the bodies of a person. That makes it even scarier because they have a face of a sheep. I don't know why I came up with the face of a sheep thing when that is clearly a dog, that is clearly a duck, and that is clearly another beaked creature and possibly a dog or a bear. So it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the hell? But yeah, it's peculiar and interesting. That's how I'd describe a lot of this. It's interesting, but I also simultaneously don't feel I have the right skill set to like properly deep dive into this sort of art medium. Like, I am just not as confident analysing art of this particular type as I am with analysing film, TV, video games, that sort of thing. And the last thing that was very cool, this video isn't the greatest, but basically when you make certain movements of it, it's like reflects your own movements back at you. And so I was like, oh, that's so cool, that's very nice, that's very cool, that's very sweet. And I was making a bunch of movements, and for some reason it wouldn't let me do anything with them, so that was a bit unfortunate. But yeah, the first time I did it without recording, it was very awesome, because it was like really keeping up. But yeah, also, in terms of the symbolisms, it's like, oh, it's like a heart-shaped apple of some sort, I'm assuming, with like 2 disembodied hands. Like, what could this be like? Could it be like, oh, what if the apple from Snow White, like, managed to tempt her because she was, like, seeing a reflection of her own self and projecting that onto her? It was like, what tricked her into, like, falling for the thing? It's like, okay, so I guess it could be a phone bad art piece, or it could just be a cool art piece, or it could be both, or it could be neither. Who's to say? Who's to say? So, that is all of the images of all of the art that I took pictures of. Hope you enjoyed, and I profusely apologise for taking up this much of your time. And don't worry, I promise I have multiple good videos actually in the works that I have recording for right now. You'll just have to trust me on that. So, take care now, bye bye then, and I will talk to you later.